I sent my webinar, I was not sharing. Okay. So we're now sharing on Facebook and just waiting for people to join us. We are recording live. We still have about 2 minutes, so we'll wait for people to come on live with us. Gretchen and I are just hanging out, waiting for everybody to come on, hoping everybody's having a good day. Thank you for joining us here with Coleman Orange County on this beautiful, let's see, April 22nd, which happens to be a Thursday. Which
23rd.
23rd. Thank you. It's just so hard to keep track these days. So what day we're at. So it's happy to be able to provide a service here through Coleman Orange County for everybody's well-being. And you and I are lucky to be living in Orange County and beautiful California, where it's going to be 76 today.
Ooh.
So when we go on our walks today, we're going to need some sunscreen.
There you go.
We have about another minute before we start. Hopefully everybody else has been able to log on. And I'll just wait for a minute just to make sure that we're not losing anybody because we started early. And hope everybody's well and taking care of themselves and trying to figure out life during COVID and figure out what we're going to do life after COVID.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, so we're going to be side by side. Okay, great. I'm just going to wait till the 11 o'clock hits and make sure that everybody that's going to join us is able to join us and they don't miss anything. And we are going to be on Facebook Live. This is very exciting for me. Okay, we are 11 o'clock. Good morning, everybody. My name is Margarita McLaughlin. I am here with Gretchen Perea, and we are hosted by Coleman Orange County. We're here today to talk about general health and nutrition and what we can do during COVID. This is not necessarily, this is through Coleman Orange County, but it's really about general health, not necessarily about cancer. I'd like to introduce myself. I'm Margarita McLaughlin. I am a 2-time cancer survivor, first diagnosed in 2017, underwent radiation and lumpectomies. By my 2-year anniversary, I experienced a reoccurrence, started chemotherapy in June of last year, ended that in November. I'm still on targeted therapy and had a double mastectomy at the end of January. And I'm still waiting for reconstruction sometime later this year. I am also a licensed marriage and family therapist who loves to help people through challenges to enable themselves to become a better person. And I'd like to introduce you to Gretchen Perea, who is a nutritionist, and she'll tell you a little bit more. She's going to present information for about 20 minutes, and then we are going to be doing live questions if you want to type them in. She and I will have a discussion about your questions, and we should go till about 12 o'clock, so that's about an hour. So Gretchen, would you like to start? And introduce yourself?
So my name's Gretchen Perea. I am a registered dietitian and also have a master's degree in nutrition science. I'm also a certified diabetes educator and work as an outpatient dietitian at Saddleback Memorial's Wellness Center. I just want to say a little bit before we get started that today's information that I'm going to be presenting is really for a general, good health type of, with an eye on, during the pandemic and being in lockdown, et cetera, how that may affect our ability to do the types of things we like to do for our good health, but that it's not to take the place if you have any medical issues over and above where you've gotten some, specific information from a different registered dietitian or care provider, your dietitian in general. This is not meant to override anything like that, because again, I'm speaking to a general audience. So, specific, as an example, if someone had kidney problems, this may not be what I'm talking about, may not be specifically perfect for you. So just keep that in mind. This is not to take the place of that. But for the first 20 minutes, I'm going to do a little presentation on just taking good care of your health, which anytime we're at a healthy weight and eating well and exercising and all that, you are reducing your risks for every type of chronic disease, including reducing risks for cancer. And I'm going to be following some of the general recommendations from the American Institute for Cancer Research and what they recommend. And I thought I would just bring up the different points. And then also, where that has changed for all of us now, as we're all have a probably very different lifestyle than we're used to. So there's been some very specific things that come up. And then at the end, there's some good resource information that we're going to be presenting with some websites so that you can go on, and there's all kinds of handouts you can get from these different websites. And I also like to talk a little bit about where to find your information, because there's a lot of misinformation out on the internet. And that's something I go over with my patients all the time when I'm doing my job. So basically, like I said, I'm going to present some different points where the challenges may be with that, during our lockdown lifestyle right now. And then when we start taking questions, what you will notice is there's a lot of overlap between what I'm going to be talking about. So you may hear me mentioning the same thing in 5 different points, because it all ends up kind of running together at certain things. So one of them is staying at a healthy weight. That doesn't mean your high school weight. Okay, everyone, let's be realistic here. But staying at a healthy weight, these BMI tables aren't always perfect for every type of body type, but we can all tell by how much we can pinch around our middles, right? And that's also very, very common as you get past menopause to kind of have a different body shape, where we have a little bit more of our adipose tissue tends to be in our middle a little bit. So we all know by how our clothes feel, whether we're staying at a healthier weight or not. But what's related to that is, right, eating well, getting your exercise. And it's very much related to cancer risk reduction, because, and especially with breast cancer too, is that, adipose tissue it's an actual organ in your body. And one of the things it does is produce estrogen. So that's one of the, I know probably everybody here who's dealt with breast cancer has heard that from their doctors, just to try to stay at a healthy weight. And one of the big outcomes often in breast cancer treatments is people gaining some weight, having to do with the hormones and everything else that's going on. So what can you do? It's the same as everybody else, just trying to eat well and move around more, right? So one of the things I like to mention when you're trying to eat well right now is, first of all, we're all doing a lot of cooking at home, which is, and I can't even complain. My husband does it most of the time, but
you're lucky.
Yeah, well, on the one hand, you could be eating better, right? Because we're not doing all this eating out and rich food and, what have you. I know we're doing a little bit of takeout ourselves here. But one of the things to do when you're doing your takeout foods is getting things that are grilled or broiled, or as opposed to fried, fast food, drive-through kinds of things. Another quick and healthy meal, if you're not someone who really loves to cook, is like, get the roasted, next time you venture into the store, get a roasted chicken, and then you just microwave some frozen broccoli and microwave a little potato, and that's not cooking. And you've got lean chicken and broccoli and a little potato on your plate in 5 minutes, but you're not getting some, fast, KFC or something like that. So there's all kinds of, maybe get yourself a little, of course, everything's online now, but, healthy cooking for 1 or 2, or for the family, kind of cookbook. And a lot of microwaving does a good job with fresh foods. A couple other things is keep frozen vegetables at home, because I know we're all trying not to go to the store every 3 days. So, frozen broccoli florets, or all kinds of frozen vegetables, which tend to be just as healthy as some of the fresh ones, because they usually freeze them the second they cook them. So, you know, grilled, broiled things, they're going to be lower in fat and calories. Fill yourself up with fresh fruits and vegetables. The bright, colorful red and yellow ones, you know, have all those antioxidants and phytonutrients, which we know are cancer prevention, cancer risk reduction, cancer fighters. And then in addition to eating well, you know, try not to skip meals. I know our schedules are all off,
Yes.
but try to eat that, you know, breakfast and lunch and dinner, and, you know, maybe little snacks in between. The other thing that I think that's happening with all of us is being at home, is I know that you're around the kitchen more, which is not helpful, right? You know, I used to be out at work all day. I'm furloughed right now. And all of a sudden I see myself, you know, walking past the snacks in the kitchen all the time. Right. So get them out of your sight, put them away, put them in the cupboard, put them in the, you know, the freezer if you need to, and try to keep healthier snacks around the house. Buy the little fresh broccoli florets or sugar snap peas or things like that, and have a little non-fat or low-fat ranch dip around so that you're not grabbing something else. The other thing I was thinking about, which is a little different right now, would be just trying to maybe do some cooking from your pantry. You know, a little water packed tuna casserole with some whole wheat noodles and a little lighter on the cheese, you know, that type of a thing. So try to have that shopping list before you head out. Not only one, so you don't spend hours in the store, but number two, you kind of have a few easy, quick things, and then cook extra and freeze it. So you're not having to cook every single day. You know, if you are going to make a casserole, make double, right? And then you can pull things out and just defrost and microwave it again. So eating well, and then no sugary drinks whatsoever, please. And that has nothing to do specifically with cancer. It is just completely to do with calories and the fact that we don't need to drink calories. We don't move around enough anymore in our lifestyles, especially right now, let alone just on day to day. And we can't afford to drink 200 calories of anything anymore. So no sugary drinks at all, please. No juices. This isn't specific to today. This is something I tell my patients all the time. No juice, no regular soda. I'm not a fan of smoothies, you know, and here comes all the questions I can also be typing right. But just don't drink your calories. You don't need them. You know, my farmer grandpa, who would work, you know, 17 hours a day out on a farm, could get away with some orange juice, right? He needed some quick energy. We don't move. We don't need to. Right. Okay. So those would be some general things. Fresh fruits and vegetables. Don't skip your meals. Grilled, broiled, you know, fresher things as opposed to fried, greasy stuff, obviously. And then, of course, related to healthy weight is the exercise, which is also in and of itself one of the main points for risk reduction for all cancers, in addition to a healthy immune system, which is something we would all like right now, right? And don't forget, because of our extra stress, we all have a little bit more underlying stress going on right now with the worry and the uncertainty, and let alone, you know, financial things, you know, whatever's going on, and just the news nowadays. Right. Don't forget your endorphin hormones, everybody. And those come out after exertion. You don't get the benefit of those calming, happy hormone, which we're supposed to get bursts of all day long because we're supposed to move because we're animals, but we don't anymore, right? So we have to get that movement in. Nothing in your body works right when you don't move around enough. And we've over mechanized the human existence. We don't ever breathe hard, unless you literally go make time for what I call now fake movement, fake exercise, which is walk nowhere on a machine, right? Or go walk around the block in circles, but we're not actually walking to accomplish anything anymore. Although you can walk to the store, right? But you know, walk. And now with the gyms closed, there's one of our if you were a gym person, right? Now your gym is closed. So the walking, stationary bike, I just got one on Amazon, $89. You don't need some $500 thing that's going to make coffee for you. But that's a nice little thing. If you get through the day and you realize, oh my gosh, I didn't go, it's dark out, get on your little bike. Okay. Anything to get that heart rate up and get you breathing hard, healthy lungs, healthy heart, healthy immune system. One of the things I just read about recently was that when you're extra stressed, you don't make your T cells like you're supposed to, which is your infection fighting cells. So we are extra stressed. So another reason that we need to keep our immune system nice and healthy is to get that exercise going and decrease that stress. So, and I'm sure Margarita, as a marriage and family therapist, that's probably one of the things, you know, I think all psychologists tell everybody to fight depression and stress and anxiety is to get out and move around, right? Absolutely. And again, when I'm working with my patients, if they're people who are, you know, couch potatoes, even if it's just a phase, get up and go for 5 minutes. Just get up, shoes on, out the door. Just practice that little step of shoes on, out the door, shoes on, out the door, or shoes on the bike, whatever you're going to do, so that you are practicing the habit of going before you actually get the exercise. I don't care if it takes a month of just 5 minutes. So you've got the habit, it's easy to get out the door, then start working on the time. Because what you want to avoid if you're somebody who hasn't been used to exercise is you don't want to get tired, hot, or sore. And especially with the weather heating up now, you might come back and you're tired, hot, and sore the next day. Well, if it's not a habit, you're certainly not going to go again. You know, in your own brain, it's like, no, that wasn't good, you know. So just start doing 5 minutes a day, 10 minutes a day. If you have any joint or knee or hip problems, you know, sometimes 2 shorter walks that add up to 30 minutes, the eventual goal is easier than doing one entire 30 minutes. But in the beginning, everybody starts with the all or nothing thing. They're, you know, trying to walk for 2 hours and they don't go at all. And the point is getting those endorphins in and just get your heart rate up at least a few minutes a day to get the habit started. And you'll find is you'll build on it. So the eating well, the exercise, another one very much related to, I've been seeing this all over social media, is that people are drinking more, being locked down. And we do know that that is definitely a risk for cancer. Not to mention, once again, if you remember, if we harken back to the don't drink calories, guess what? Alcohol is extremely high in calories. It's not a sugar thing unless you're drinking real sugary drinks. It's literally alcohol calories. There's more calories in the alcohol than there is in like carbohydrate, gram per gram. So don't forget that. That's not water, right? And especially if anybody's taken any treatments, I know everybody's heard, you know, don't drink while you have, you know, other medications going into you. But do not underestimate how many of those calories are. And often with my patients, I will sit down and I don't know why I can't lose weight or this or that. And then when I do some really detailed questioning, I'll point out that they're, you know, 500 calories a day of wine, you know, because the quote unquote 2 glasses actually works out to 4 because it's a huge glass of wine, right? And especially now we're stressed, we're home, you know, I get it. But try to be really, really careful about that. One little hint would be to do every other, you know, do 1 small glass 5-ounce pour of wine. And in the second one, put in sparkling water in the same glass, in the wine glass. So the first one, you're a little relaxed. It's 150 calories if you keep it to 5 ounces, which, okay, you know, if you're really careful with the rest of the day and getting your exercise, that might not be a big deal. But then the second one, keep it to sparkling water or some of these, you know, just sparkling calorie-free drinks so that, you know, it feels festive. Put a lime or a lemon in there, but, you know, watch that alcohol intake. Let's see, a couple other things I was looking at. Drinking plenty of water, staying hydrated. It's going to be warming up now as well. Getting your sleep, which of course is not specifically nutrition related, but kind of the main things we hear all the time. And I know it just all sounds so cliche and like, oh, there's actually science and physiology behind these recommendations. And again, talking to my patients, I'll say, well, you've been told to exercise before. Oh yeah. Yeah, he tells me, oh, and I go, you don't really believe it, do you? And they go, well, I know everybody tells me that. And then I'll, because I'm lucky as a nutritionist, dietitian, I get an hour with people and I can explain in great detail physiologically why that movement does what it needs to do and helps you with all these medical issues. So, in doctor's defense is they get 5 minutes with you, right? So there's a lot of really good reasons to get moving around. And I'm looking at my time. It's almost 11:20. I think I covered most of the main points, which is those fresh fruits and vegetables, whole grains, whole wheat, 100% whole wheat bread. Don't just buy the multi-grain stuff, and you don't need $9 bread either. Brown rice. One of the local stores here, you can buy some frozen brown rice and it'll be ready in 3 minutes in the microwave as well. And then, things like quinoa, beans, pinto beans, kidney beans, lentils. Once again, you can buy the canned ones, just rinse them and those are ready to go. They've got protein, they've got fiber, got a little energy carbohydrate. So they're a very nice way to go too. Buy packaged, prepackaged lettuce mixes. Another couple things too, especially if anybody's going through any treatments or chemotherapy at the moment, is make sure you're sanitizing your kitchen really well and washing off things when you go to the store. Wipe down those product packages when you bring them in. You want to just be extra careful that you're not going to have, get exposed to anything now or ever. Everybody knows about good food handling in the kitchen. So because we're cooking more, be extra careful with that as well. So I think that's kind of the main points.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which isn't really anything new, but it's something that, in my opinion, when we're getting so much negative news, it's like, look, these are things that we can actually do to make ourselves feel better. If mentally we need to know, what happens if we get sick. Well, you know what, if we're at a healthy weight, if we're practicing exercise, if we're practicing eating nutritiously, and cutting down on sugar and alcohol and all of those extra calories, that it gives us a better chance of, if we ever contract it, which I think a lot of people say we will in one form or another, that we'll be we'll be at a healthier place to be able to fight it.
Right. Absolutely. And I like to get back to the weight thing. Is a lot of my patients, it's sort of the all or nothing thing. They're either going to the gym for 3 hours and eating salad or nothing at all. Right. And always trying to teach that moderation is, get 30 minutes of walking in and, watch those snacks. And you don't have to be, lose slowly. That means you're making permanent healthy changes. Women should not be dropping 5 pounds a week. That's not healthy for anybody.
Right.
A half pound to a pound a week is a more appropriate weight loss amount for somebody. And right now, if you're going through treatments, for sure, you don't even really necessarily want to lose weight. When people are having chemotherapy, we want them to maintain,
right?
Or all amount. Yeah,
they do. They weigh you all the time. So we have a quick question, and I think I've heard this one too. Is like that you should eat your weight in water, or half of your weight in water in ounces. What do you think of that? Is that
I usually don't tell people. Again, there may be some different, I can't really think of a specific health concern that would change this, but 64 ounces a day ought to be plenty for everybody. And then on top of that, your little sparkling water or iced tea or something along those lines. But you don't need to drown yourself in water. But you don't want especially going through treatment, you want to make sure you're getting plenty of water.
right?
So at least get that 64, but don't double it and triple it. Once again, It's like, don't do all or nothing, right? So.
Well, I know that one thing that you and I spoke to about before is you're saying that a half an hour of an exercise is really what we're trying to do, but then minimum, exactly, and that because we're not going to work, we're not going to the grocery store, we're not being mobile. Some of us may be reading and doing all these things that are enriching, or we're watching TV, or we're lying in bed because we can't get out of bed. But we're not moving at all. And our houses just aren't big enough to get extra movement.
And that I've noticed that with me is that not being at work right now is all the I used to get up and walk up and down the hallway and walk across the hospital and go up and down the stairs. And you're right, we're not doing that. I'm personally trying to add an extra 15 minutes on at least to make up for that, all that other missed movement. So if somebody already had an exercise, routine going, try to add another 15 minutes of cardio if you can to make up for the fact that we're sitting the rest of the day. But if you haven't had any exercise, please just get started with 5 or 10 minutes. So yeah, thank you for bringing that up. I forgot to mention that. You do want to see if you can get an extra 15 minutes because we're sitting a lot right now compared to before.
And also, be aware of the time that you're sitting, because if you're sitting for 4 hours, that's not good for your circulation. So make, set a timer, do something that every hour you're at least getting up and going around or doing something.
Yeah.
Because sitting does not help. I think you and I were speaking about how sitting has become the most unhealthy thing we do over and above smoking.
Yes.
That sedentary lifestyles are really cutting life expectancy short.
Absolutely. I mean, again, I know people don't like the way I say this, but I say we're animals and we were supposed to move around all day long.
Right.
And we used to run away and something trying to eat us in a forest. Well, we're way past that now, right? But we, again, over mechanized our existence. We don't even lift up garage doors anymore. We don't do anything. We don't use our muscles, and our muscles were meant to be used and be strong and be lean. Remember, your heart's a muscle, right? And, and now we're just so sedentary that our insulin resistance is up, meaning our blood sugars are swinging around. Obviously, we're not wearing off the calories that we're supposed to, making it harder to lose weight or be at a healthy weight. I mean, you cannot be healthy without movement. And this is what always happens when I'm asked to talk about nutrition. I always end up talking more almost about the movement, because that is so often one of the bigger issues compared, again, there's some of my patients eat really poorly, but a lot of them don't, and they don't realize it's the lack of movement that's the bigger issue. Right. And it helps with just about every health concern anybody could possibly come up with. If you could eat perfectly, and if you're still sitting, you're not going to be healthy.
Well, and from a mental health aspect, I mean, just getting outside and breathing fresh air and being in the sun or being in clouds, it's just being part of the community. You talked about being an animal. Well, that's part of a mental health too. We have a basal brain that tells us, fear is our number one trigger during these times. And that's normal because it's for survival. So if you have anxiety or you have any kind of fear going on, it's your body just trying to tell you, you need to take care of yourself. So,
and we are right now, right? Yeah.
Right. And it's hyperactive in everybody. And even if you didn't have anxiety, you're going to have these fears coming up. But also, to calm yourself down, even walking and being mindfully when you walk, where you're at, what you're doing. And, I go on a walk. I have a little 4-year-old granddaughter. It's so quiet. You can hear the birds. Like, that never happens here in Costa Mesa. So just really being aware and mindful of your situation, where you're at. And how about even when you're eating, like, appreciate the colors of the food, what they taste like, that you're lucky to have, the fresh fruit that you're having, and just really calming yourself down as to what you do have and what you have available, just to curb that anxiety of the fear that's outside of our walls, because we really don't know what's going to happen. And, nobody's figured this out. And so in order to just keep yourself going is get going. And if it's just, even if you don't, wear a mask outside if you feel like that's necessary when you're going for a walk. And people, in my area are being very mindful. They'll cross the street, and it's part of who we are, is we need to be outside a little bit, and even maybe just sit outside and soak up some sun for a little bit and just, warm up your bones. We've got a question about any recommendations for oils that are better for cooking.
I usually tell people canola. Well, if you're, again, olive oil is not to be heated really hot, right? But olive oil is a very healthier oil. But for cooking, if you're going to heat it really hot, canola, safflower, grapeseed oil are usually the most rich in polyunsaturated fats. Olive oil's got some more monounsaturated, but the bottom line is be super careful on the amounts. Right. There's 100 calories in a tablespoon of any kind of oil or even butter, even though that one's not as healthy for you. 100 calories is 100 calories. Once again, guys, we're sitting around a lot. So try to use little as possible if you're watching your weight. But yeah, if you're going to heat it hot, canola, safflower, grapeseed oil, with olive oil being probably the healthiest, but it's still high in calories. Just don't forget that.
Well, I've been using the spray oils because I think that just one pump, it's really easy, and you don't over pour and you don't do that. I know another topic of conversation that you and I have had is about the Mediterranean diet.
Yes.
And you talked about the olive oil. Can you elaborate a little bit more about that? And,
well, if anybody wants to look up, I will recommend some resources at the end, but on the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics website, it's eatright.org, and just search Mediterranean diet. It's basically lean proteins, not a lot of red meat or processed meats at all. More fish, nuts, legumes, which would be pinto beans, kidney beans, fresh, colorful fruits, vegetables, whole grains, the olive oil, fish, and that is not only heart healthy, cancer risk reduction, you name it. It's just the healthiest way to eat. So I probably shouldn't say, restaurant names right here, but looking for Mediterranean food when you're ordering out, or going to pick up or having it delivered, it's extremely good choices for you there. So.
Okay. And also something that you mentioned.
So I'm sorry, you froze there for a second.
That we're adding a salad to our plate. That we're not filling it.
Right. If anybody has heard of the plate method, it's getting a quarter plate of some protein, a quarter lean, hopefully, a quarter plate of some carb, and everybody's trying to avoid carb, and that is incorrect. Your body needs it. Do not do these all protein, high fat diets. It's horrible for your heart and your kidneys and everything else. You need balance. Your body wants balance. So quarter plate of protein, quarter plate of hopefully, A+ would be a whole grain carb, brown rice, quinoa, beans, or whole wheat bread if you're making a sandwich, and then a half a plate of vegetables.
Right.
So not only is that watching your calories, but it's giving you all those phytonutrients and antioxidants, and watching your portion sizes as well. So that's a really good graphic to look at. Look up the plate method. I think it's my plate. Sorry. Yeah, Margarita, you're free. You're freezing. I think I saw a question about food delivery. Was that?
Yes. So do you recommend any food delivery service like Hellofresh or Blue Apron?
Sure. Depending again on what you're going to order. I think just by the name Hellofresh, it's going to be something that's hopefully fresh or grilled kinds of things. As long as what you're eating is you're ordering, healthier things, for sure.
Right. Well, the other thing that we talked about, and I might have been freezing up, is, people say snacking on nuts. And we really talked about the quantity and how much.
Yeah, everybody forgets that. I hear that all the time. And again, it's a heart healthy oil that's in the nuts. So that's a good thing, but it's still oil. And remember what I said about fat. It's extremely high in calories. And so everybody's snacking on quote unquote healthy nuts. Well, a quarter cup of almonds is almost 200 calories. A quarter cup of walnuts is 250 calories. That is a lot of calories for those of us who are barely getting out on our walks right now, or anytime, to be honest with you. So if you're eating nuts, I'd keep it to 6 or 8 a day. And that's still going to be 100 calories, you better work in the, thinking about how much you're taking in. So especially people trying to watch their weight, I usually don't recommend snacking on nuts because it is very difficult to eat 6 or 8 of them. I myself love them. I can't have them in the house. So, I'd rather do a little bit of olive oil and get a healthy oil that way when I'm cooking my food than eat 200 calories in nuts, because a couple handfuls of those a day, you'll never lose weight, unless you're really somebody's, running marathons or something. So,
right.
Yeah, healthy, but they're very high in calories.
So a better snack alternative would be, in your opinion?
Like a little piece of fresh fruit, buy smaller fruits. Fruit's very good for you. Don't grind it up and put it in smoothies, please. All of a sudden have a 300 calorie smoothie. But eat an apple and maybe have a little light string cheese with it, or an apple and 6 nuts, right? So something like that.
Okay. We have another
or a little low-fat, non-fat Greek yogurt with a little bit of fruit in it, something along those lines.
Okay. There's a question here about your thoughts on coconut oil.
Yeah, it's a saturated fat. So it's still oil. If you don't have cholesterol issues or heart disease in the family, a teaspoon at a time, it may have a little bit of, they're saying some cognitive benefit. But the study that started that was 2 teaspoons a week of coconut oil in place of some other oil may have some cognitive benefits. But then now that turned into, as it always does in the food world, bathing in coconut all day long. And the next thing you know, your cholesterol is going through the roof. It is a saturated fat. Anything that is hard at room temperature is not going to be good for your blood vessels, in all honesty. So lard, coconut oil, palm kernel oil, which is in a lot of processed packaged foods when you look at the labels, and also things like butter, Crisco, the hydrogenated fat.
Yeah.
All of that stuff will raise your cholesterol and can clog your arteries. So, which is why we like people to stay more liquid things, meaning the oils, the vegetable oils. But again, watching your calories a teaspoon at a time, right? So if you want to do a couple teaspoons a week of coconut oil in place of some other oil you would have used, go for it. But I don't recommend much more than that. Again, not knowing anything about you and whether you have any,
right,
cholesterol things, obviously.
Right. So as we move forward with COVID and we don't really know how we're going to be impacted, really being aware of what we eat, how much we move. I'm going to add, what is your intake of media as far as a diet goes for your mental health? Is watch what's coming in, what you're watching, there are some programs that I used to watch, excuse me, that I'm finding are a little bit too violent and too harsh right now. And I think the reality of the world has changed, and just be very aware of what you're ingesting, because that's really going to affect your mood. And sometimes we're going to eat to make ourselves feel better. And those usually aren't really good, healthy choices, And so food, in your opinion, is more nutrition rather than emotional eating. That's something you watch.
I don't want to overgeneralize, but women tend to be, that's overgeneralizing, isn't it? But our emotions, put it this way, my women patients are more aware of the fact that they have emotional eating at times. And I think all of us do, to a greater or lesser extent, right? At times, that's probably overgeneralization as well, but is to be aware of that. And that's that mindful eating that you were talking about,
Right.
Sit down at the table, pay attention to your food. Don't eat as much as you can sitting in front of the TV or on the go. Don't bring a bag of anything with you. Take a little portion, and bring it with you. And there's really nothing you can't have. If you want to eat a cookie, eat a cookie. Don't eat 7 cookies, right?
Right.
It's 100 calories. It's 100 to 150 calories. And if that's in place of your apple and string cheese, which is 100 and 150 calories, well, which one's healthier? The apple and string cheese, right? but you want to avoid deprivation, which is what happens when everybody's trying to, you know, cut back on everything in the world all at once, trying to lose weight or whatever. And deprivation leads to overeating. So especially for people who may be doing a little bit of emotional eating. And right now, that's really easy. We're stressed. We're stuck at home. The kitchen's in front of us all day long. So do your very best to, you know, again, keep those healthier things around. I've lost, you know, 15 pounds in the last 7-8 months, just stopping any TV snacking. And, you know, and what's helped me with that is keeping some, so I can grab something crunchy like broccoli florets or sugar snap peas or something. If I really have to, you know, put something in here to munch on while I'm watching a show, or turn the television off, which doesn't hurt nowadays either. So
yeah, I always get caught up in the food commercials. It's like, really, I don't need to be seeing that.
no.
We do have a question and would like to expand more about what you think of grapeseed oil. There have been a couple of questions about that.
I don't have huge thoughts about it. I just know that it is, in all honesty, it's just one of the ones listed that's pretty high in the polyunsaturated fats. So there's nothing specific. I'm not sure what the question is. What do you mean?
It just said what you think about grapeseed oil. The only thing I know, because I cook, is I think it has a higher flash point. So you can cook with it because it doesn't burn until at a higher rate.
Yeah, I don't have any amazing information about it other than it is one of the ones it's listed as one of the things that's going to be the more polyunsaturated.
Great. Is there, we're not getting a lot of questions, so I'm wondering if there's just any nuggets of information that have helped you personally in what you're dealing with COVID right now, that you're struggling with, and how you've been able to turn that around, because you know what's right, but we're also human.
Exactly. So, and that's where, you know, I can always relate when people come in, because I'm human just as well. I've got a master's degree in nutrition, but I don't have a master's degree in behavior change, unfortunately. That's Margarita, you and I should work together. But, you know, because so much of eating is psychology, right?
Right.
But my way of addressing that is getting your exercise to decrease people's stress. And when they're less stressed, people tend to snack a little less. If you're someone who does emotional eating, right? It's always back to that exercise again. And then everything from yoga, meditation, just calming things. So that, again, it's from a nutrition dietitian standpoint, decreasing the stress and how you handle the extra stress around us right now. Hopefully it'll stop you from grabbing at foods and calories we don't need, right?
Right.
So,
I know I'll be vulnerable and share in that. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist. I know what to do. And I've been in convalescence because of chemotherapy and surgery. And I'm able to walk, and I'm able to do things, and I'm able to taste good things. And it's like, well, I don't really want to today. I don't want to go out on a walk. It's like, no, I don't feel like it. Oh, you know what? I'm going to have a glass of wine. Oh, I'm going to do this. And it just kind of keeps snowballing. Mm-hmm. And until our conversation that you and I had the other day about, like, just get out, put your shoes on. And it's true. It's like, I have to stop my mental chatter about getting out. And I know there's a motivational speaker. I know her first name is Mel. And she's like, just get up in the morning, just get up, get out of bed. Don't talk anymore. Don't do that self-negative stuff, and just get up and get out. And I think lacking a schedule is really a difficult thing. You know, sometimes I find myself having breakfast at noon, and then am I going to have dinner at 9 or 10 o'clock at night? It's just such a,
right.
such a new environment for all of us. So we have another question. What are your thoughts on diet and caffeine-free drinks?
Well, so this is something I say all the time. I get that question a lot. Well, caffeine-free, I don't know, if you have high blood pressure and you're you're really watching your caffeine, then buy the caffeine free. The diet drink has been, while I don't recommend, you know, and it's really not because it's a quote unquote diet drink. It's because it depends on what your reason for asking the question is. If your reason is weight, then obviously the regular drink with the sugar and the calories is a worse option for you. If you have to have something that you look, I need, or I want my caffeine and I want it to get it from a diet drink or whatever, and you're trying to watch your weight with an abs or blood sugars, or depending on what your medical reason is, definitely don't drink the regular, right? That's the last on the list. But the diet drinks, again, in moderation, and it's not that there's something any more evil about a diet drink versus some of the other packaged fluorescent orange noodles that people might eat. You know, it's like everybody wigs out about diet this or that, but then turn around and eat the fluorescent orange powder around the noodles. And I'm like, well, if you're concerned about additives, don't demonize one thing over another. I don't recommend either of those things, right? Yeah. But an occasional, you know, serving of the fluorescent orange powder on the noodles is fine. Just like I would say that the same thing about a diet drink, you know. If people are worried about the artificial sweeteners, once again, have an occasional diet drink. But if you're somebody who's throwing 5 in your coffee and drinking diet soda all day long, you know, between the additives and the colorings, and, you know, and it's not specifically the artificial sweetener, it's just all the various additives. I'm not a fan of a lot of processed foods for anybody, whether it be diet drink or, you know, take a look at some of those quote unquote smoothie powders you're buying. And you want a really short list on that ingredient list. And when you can't pronounce the stuff you're seeing on the list, don't buy it. Long story short.
So we talked about, since you're bringing it up, I like to make fresh squeezed orange juice. And I asked you also about doing a green drink. And if you would elaborate a little bit more on our conversation about what you think about that.
Sure. One of the reasons it's not that, again, you know, depending on the person, but I'm not a big fan of people drinking calories, because you are completely circumventing the natural mechanisms that were in our bodies to signify that you're full and your satiety level. And when you put something in a blender and it blends it up and grinds it to this pulverized liquid, number one, once again, guys, we're animals. We weren't supposed to drink our food. At no point over the thousands of years was our food something you drank. You know, you drank water and you ate, right? And what happens is when you chew and swallow, the food is in bigger chunks than what's left from a blender. So there's still work to be done on the stomach on that food, whether it be vegetables or fruits or what have you, protein coming from a source versus a powder, right? And that work in that stomach is slowing down the digestion, and any carbohydrate that's in the foods entering the bloodstream as glucose more slowly, the fibers keeping you full longer, the foods in the stomach longer. All those things gives your stomach time to tell your head that you're full. When you swallow down a 300 calorie smoothie or protein or whatever it is, you didn't eat, right? There's no chewing, there's no saliva involved. There's all these mechanisms in the body that are designed to kind of slow down how much you're eating and how much you take in. It just bypasses all of that.
Right.
And I do worry about people's blood sugars, even, you know, especially as we're sitting, we're not moving. And, you know, if you have a little extra weight on you, or maybe you already know you're watching your blood sugars. And when you swallow down something with ground up fruit, it's going to enter your bloodstream so quickly. And then you get these insulin swings going up and down, which leave you hungry later. I would much rather than a smoothie in the morning, to have somebody have a piece of whole grain toast with a little natural almond butter and half a banana on that. And you will be nowhere near as hungry an hour later as when you drank your breakfast. Okay.
Got it. We have a question about, what do you think of coffee and what sweeteners do you suggest?
What do you mean? What do I think of coffee?
That's it.
I mean, it's like
Nutritionally, what do you think of coffee? I guess.
well, if you're watching your caffeine, and then I don't recommend drinking it all day long into the night. Some people say it doesn't bother them. You got to think of blood pressure, if you keep that in your mind. And the sweeteners, it depends. I mean, if you have no weight issue, no blood sugar issues, a little teaspoon of honey or sugar is fine. Don't dump it in there. And then all the other sweeteners is just whatever you want. I mean, I'm trying to think of the non-brand name of it, but I guess stevia is it's a natural, quote unquote, natural product that still had to be studied to make sure it was safe. But but I would say for any of the sweeteners, let me back up. One packet is almost like 3 teaspoons of sugar and sweetness. Wow. So literally use a third of a packet. And then even if you had 3 cups of coffee during the day and you had a third of a packet, you're only going to use 1 packet of artificial sweetener all day long versus throwing the whole thing in because they package that for you. Trust me, they're not doing it they're selling their product, right? So I would just say use a little third half a packet, roll it back up, and then use another little third half a packet. You'll find this plenty sweet enough. And then you'll be decreasing the amount of it,
And talking about sweets, which is my, it's my weakness. I had asked you a question about eating sweets and sugar begetting sugar. So having that one cookie doesn't always seem to be, I was attributing it to sugar, saying I wanted more sugar, but then you started talking about, no, it's a behavior, Margarita. And
well, both. It depends on the person. I mean, sometimes eating those quickly digested sugary foods will leave you hungrier if you have a little of insulin resistance going on, which tends to happen when we're sitting still and or have a little extra weight. And then your blood sugars are swinging around, and that's going to leave you hungrier. You have more circulating insulin. When you have a lot of circulating insulin, it makes you hungry. But yeah, mostly a lot of it is behavioral. We tend to feel bad that we ate the cookie because people have got it in their mind that they should never eat a cookie for the rest of their life, which is a ridiculous plan. I always ask my patients, do you have a sweet tooth? Yeah. Okay. Well, then we're going to work some in if we have to a few times a week, but in very small amounts. Right.
Right.
But it tends to be a little bit of more of a behavioral issue where people are like, oh, forget it. I ate a cookie. I'm going to eat 6 more.
Right.
And start tomorrow. Right. And
Right.
that's the all or nothing thinking, which I just have to drumbeat nonstop. Don't do that. Eat a cookie. You try to lose weight, fine, eat a little bit less at your next meal or something, but don't eat half a pack because you started with 1, right?
Right. Okay, so we
Better yet, don't bring the cookies home, right?
Yeah, buy a smaller pack of cookies.
Right.
Follow-up question regarding what you think of coffee. Is it bad for you?
I'm sorry, that was just too general. I don't know. It would depend on the person that's asking me the question. If they drank a lot of it and they had high blood pressure, I would say, yeah, that's probably not a good choice. But no, there's actually some studies showing that coffee's got a few healthy things. It's like anything though. I mean, in moderation, for most people is not going to be bad for you. If you're drinking 8 cups a day, it might be a little bit too much of a stimulant coming in nonstop,
Right. So I've never heard of this, but of a monk fruit sweetener.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think of that?
It's another kind of natural product that's in and of itself sweetened. And what happens is they crystallize them and you use very little of it and it'll sweeten up your drink without really adding extra calories.
Okay.
None of them are any kind of miracle thing over the other.
And is green tea really that much healthier for you?
It does have a little bit more antioxidants in it that I actually try. I was reading a study the other day and I'm trying to have a little more green tea myself. It's a little higher in caffeine, so be aware of that. But yeah, a little cup of green tea or get the decaf one if you're going to, add it on top of some other caffeine you're already having. they're saying that there really is some studies showing that could be helpful as far as antioxidants, risk reduction, things like that.
And something that I've been thinking about is turmeric. All the benefits that have been.
Yeah, it's been touted as anti-inflammatory, et cetera.
Yes.
Put it this way, it won't hurt to have a little bit. It's not going to hurt you.
Yeah.
If you overdo it, you could actually end up with diarrhea or loose stool. So if you have it, if you're somebody who has kind of a sensitive stomach, or that's something you deal with, you need to kind of watch that. That's one of the supplements I ask about when I get people with GI issues. But yeah, I mean, you can try a little bit of it. But again, I know nothing about, remember everybody, if anybody's taking any chemotherapy or different medications or whatever, you can get onto WebMD and plug in anything you're thinking about under there, and you go under there, I think it says medications and supplements, and it'll tell you if there's any side effects or interactions or whatever, because people may be on different medications. And I always need to preface that. Okay. That's something I look for when I talk to patients.
So we're coming up to the end here. And I know that you said that you had some resources that you wanted to share.
Right. There is a plethora of good information out there. One of the, and I don't think I added this, and forgive me for the person who set up this whole thing today, but actually the larger Komen, this is the Komen, Orange County, right. But the larger Komen site has some very good, if you just search nutrition, they had some great handouts on risk reduction and good nutrition. It's everything we just talked about, fresh fruits and vegetables and exercise, et cetera, et cetera. Also, eatright.org, O-R-G. That's the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics. Search anything you're interested in, and you're going to get very reputable information. But they have on their front page right now COVID resources, and they're going to go over everything we've kind of touched upon. I was just looking it all up, and from good sanitation in the kitchen to ordering out to eating well, you name it. They've got all kinds of really good nutrition related COVID, lifestyle change, all on their front page right now. And then the last one is the American Institute of Cancer Research. Have very, very good information on nutrition. And I use their stuff a lot with my patients, actually, that they have available as well. Just search it on their page, and all their stuff will come up.
Okay.
So, and one quick little thing is, anytime you are looking things up online with regards to nutrition without me, without having somebody sitting next to you that, does research, I recommend staying on sites that are .org, .gov, or .edu, which is going to be like a institution, a learning institution. Be really careful with the .com sites. They can be very sketchy, and unless I'm seeing exactly which one, I tell my patients to bring in what they look at so that I can kind of try to interpret it for them. So, and if there's any questions that we didn't get to today, I'm happy that you guys can pass them on, and I'll try to get back to a person with an email or something. So
great. Well, I really want to thank you on behalf of Komen Orange County for spending your time with us and really sharing some information. Thank you for thank you for sharing your time and insights, and everybody is saying thank you. Sure. Everybody just stay healthy and well, and try and get up and go out and
shoes on out the door.
Right. Yes. Carefully. Yeah. It was lovely speaking to you. It was lovely to speak to you today, and thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody.
Okay. Thank you. Bye-bye.